a man has been ordered to pay almost £100,000 in damages after secretly recording naked images of his then-girlfriend and uploading them to an online porn site. But his ex-partner's yet to receive a penny and is still struggling to get the images removed.
Yeah, we spoke to Victoria, which isn't her real name, and recreated her words with an actor, as the court ruling says that she cannot be identified. Lorna Shaddick has her story.
Numbness, disbelief, shock, horror. There's this weird thing that happens when you're not sure, like, is this real? Did this really happen?
When Victoria met Stuart Gaunt, she says he was caring, kind, and they enjoyed a happy 18 months together. Then, one seemingly normal day, Victoria discovered something sinister on Stuart's laptop.
I saw that there was the name of something in the top left-hand corner of the screen, and I went downstairs and I typed in the name of that website. I got the shock of my life because it was a work phone, and it was a child pornography site.
Upon further investigation, Victoria found out that Stuart had been secretly recording her naked with hidden cameras and uploading them online next to a picture of her face.
How did you feel when you saw those images?
You don't know because you're so accustomed to how the person is with you, so kind, so caring. And then on the opposite, you have the depravity of what is going on. One website had shown how many hundreds of views this one page had had, and it was me in the shower. I couldn't understand it.
How's this whole ordeal affected you then, and have you had to change your life since?
You start imagining, if this is all you've seen, what else is out there? What else could have taken place that you're not even aware of? I always go to the same hotel for work. I feel a lot more safe there, but I've found myself in the habit of, checking the air conditioning vents for tiny cameras, because they're just so small. You don't know where they are. And I mean, I was in that bathroom for so long, and I had no idea there was a camera in the mirror.
Victoria reported Stuart to the police, and he got a suspended sentence for voyeurism. But he wasn't charged with putting the images online or ordered to take any of them down.
He was never held accountable for posting things online, and I felt it was unfair that he was never held accountable and he got a 2-year suspended sentence.
Victoria decided to take her case to the High Court to try and win damages to pay for the pictures to be removed. She was successful. In a landmark case, the judge ruled in her favour, ordering Gaunt to pay her almost £100,000.
I think this judgment sets a precedent. It sends out a signal to the victims that you can have something done about it, and also to the perpetrators to reconsider their actions before they go about trying to take away someone's dignity.
But Victoria still hasn't been able to get the images taken down. Shockingly, Gaunt still owns the copyright to them, and he refuses to say where they are. He's also yet to pay a penny in damages.
There needs to be a list of where everything is shared, and also they need to look into copyright of the imagery, because even if you do find it online, you don't actually own the copyright to your images because you never took them, which is absurd. We haven't even been able to begin to get it removed. We don't know where it is, and we can only do it once he pays.
Victoria says she's still coming to terms with what happened to her, and it still affects her every day.
So when it comes to Stuart, has he shown any remorse for his actions?
I don't believe Stuart is capable of remorse. I don't think he would have been doing this for so many years and continuing this way, but I hope he gets the help he needs.
Well, just a reminder, that wasn't the real Victoria. In fact, that's not even her name. She was played by an actress. We have to protect her identity, understandably. Well, joining us now is Georgia Harrison, who we know, of course, from Love Island. But she's becoming a prominent campaigner against image-based abuse because you have been a victim of image abuse yourself, haven't you?
Yeah, and I think when you look at Victoria's case, it really just highlights how the government are unfortunately letting victims down in so many ways. When I speak to some of the top image-based sexual abuse charities, they've said that the one thing they need to change is when you do go through this whole deal of taking your perpetrator to court and you actually win, your images and videos are still not illegal. So they can be put on all these different porn websites and no one has any obligation whatsoever to take them down. So I think if they changed it, not only would people rightfully get their imagery taken down, but a lot more victims will come forward because it's a lot to go through the court process.
And is that a change of the law that needs to happen? Is that relatively, when I say relatively straightforward, is that a process that can be put into place relatively easily?
It can be put into place, but it would be a change in the law. So it would need backing by MPs. And as well as that, I think they need to take out the clause where it says you have to prove there was an intent to cause distress. Because from what I can see in this case, really, in my opinion, the perpetrator should have gone to jail and he also should have been tried for image-based sexual abuse. But presumably, as Victoria wasn't aware that the cameras were filming, she probably didn't have any proof to show that he intended to cause distress.
But by taking
But you
those...
don't, I mean,
that's extraordinary,
regardless of whether
Yeah.
you've intended to cause distress or not, you have utterly invaded someone's privity and caused them extreme distress, haven't you? It shouldn't... I see your argument, it shouldn't be that the intention is proved. There's no accidental secret recording and posting online, is there?
Exactly. And whether or not you intended for it to cause distress, it absolutely does. It's an absolutely inhumane thing to do to another human being. And it should be illegal no matter what. And a lot of people are doing it now for monetary gain as well. So, I mean, they're selling this stuff online. So that isn't just distress, that's just to make yourself financially wealthier.
I mean, the term's shifted, hasn't it? And from revenge porn to image-based sexual abuse. Can you explain the difference in those two things? Because I think the newer term that we're using this morning seems a much better use of the phrase.
So basically, image-based sexual abuse is just a nicer way of referring to it. I think a lot of victims feel that revenge shouldn't be in the title, as in their opinion, it means that they've done something wrong to deserve it. And also they feel it isn't porn because porn is when you choose to film something and sell it online. But, you know, most of the victims didn't have a choice whatsoever.
And is there a difference in the law for perhaps if there's been something where there's been consent at the time of filming, but not consent at the time of uploading and making public?
No, it would still fall under image-based sexual abuse. So even if you did consent to being involved in the footage, you know, a lot of people in adult relationships do these things. And, you know, that's not a bad thing to do. It's just being sexually explorative. But a bad thing to do is to share it without someone's permission. So it all comes down to consent at the end of the day.
One of the key parts of your campaign is certainly going out and talking to younger people about the realities of this, because the advent of the internet and the accessibility of what's on the internet constantly is a challenge. As parents, we've got children that we're talking to all the time about what is OK, what's not OK, and also protecting themselves from the future. I mean, how do you find the reaction from young people that you talk to when you talk about what you've been through and things like Victoria went through?
I think they find it really shocking. I think it's really important to open young people's eyes because it's so much easier for them to share these things than it ever has been before. And it's hard enough to trust someone in an adult relationship, let alone a teenage one. So I think younger people are more wary of sharing things when they see what happened to me. But I also think it opens their eyes to the fact that this is extremely illegal. People may not know, you know, if you just send a picture when you're like 13, 14, they might just think it's an innocent thing to do. But actually, I think they need to be educated on just how damaging it can be to the individual that becomes a victim, but also how life-changing it can be for a perpetrator if you do make what is a horrific mistake and share explicit imagery of anyone.
We can't talk about the specifics of your case, I know, but I wonder how you're feeling now, Georgia, about what you've been through. Do you feel like you're in a better place than where you were and how that healing process is happening?
Yeah, I feel like I'm really coming out the other end of it now and I'm starting to just fit back into normal life and I'm finally looking at it as something that hopefully I can use to make a difference and I can help support other victims and hopefully get the government's attention because there's so many things they need to change and I know they're aware of the issues, so let's try and get it across the line.
Do you identify with some of those things that we heard from Victoria where she talked about she just feels uncomfortable in places where she doesn't know where she is, so she always goes back to the same hotel now because that's the place that she trusts and she knows? Is that something that you went through?
It was so funny because when she actually mentioned looking for cameras because they're so small, it's like I actually do that. Whereas, you know, she was filmed for a lot longer period of time, so it probably affects her more. But especially when I'm getting into like a new relationship or something, if I'm becoming intimate, I'll always sort of be looking around, even though I completely trust the person I'm with. I'm just like hyper aware of could something be filming me, which is quite irrational, but it is, I guess, a form of PTSD. And
trust is going to be the biggest challenge, isn't it? Yeah. Well done for highlighting it, because you won't be the only one, neither will Victoria be the only one that's experienced some kind of abuse in this way.
But a change in the law seems to be sort of absolutely what needs to happen. It seems extraordinary that he lost. He's got to pay nearly £100,000, which he hasn't paid a single penny yet. But there's no
pressure to do it, is there?
No onus to take down the footage or remove it.
No.
Or even give it, you know, that seems extraordinary.
And he's only been held accountable for filming it. He hasn't been held accountable for sharing it online with a picture of her face and her identity next to it, which is horrific.
Site, there's no pressure on the sites either, or accountability there.
Because the government don't hold them accountable. They literally just do not do anything. They turn a blind eye to what they know is happening on their platforms.
Crikey. Well, the Department for Culture said cases such as this are exactly why it's gone further than ever to better protect victims from image-based abuse, building on the range of offences which can be used to prosecute people sharing images without consent. Through the Online Safety Bill, which will change the law, make it illegal to send or share an intimate image without the individual's consent. Does the change in that law give you any comfort?
100%. I think that could really push the statistics up for future victims, and I think girls would have a lot more hope, girls and boys, that they would actually get their perpetrator convicted if the intent was removed.
That Online Safety Bill, we have been waiting for a very, very long time.
Very long time.
They keep delaying it and changing
so much hope in so many areas is coming
hanging off it. We need it sooner rather than later. Thank you, Joy.
Good to speak to you this morning.